All right, today we are diving deep into one of the most incredible stories from the dawn of time. We're talking prophecy, a final, sacred blessing, and a fate that, get this, completely transcends death. We're going to explore how an entire city, every single person in it, just vanished.
So it all starts with this one super cryptic verse that's had people scratching their heads for centuries. What does it actually mean that Enoch was not? It hints at something way bigger than just a normal death. And to figure it out, we have to go back, way, way back, to the final days of the very first man, Adam.
Okay, picture this. The year is 3073 BC. A massive conference has been called. This isn't just any meeting. It's a gathering of all of Adam's righteous descendants, coming together for one last epic family reunion in a place called the Valley of Adam-ondi-Ahman.
At this point, Adam is 927 years old. The source material says he was, quote, bowed down with age. Can you even imagine? He knew his time was short, and he had one final, really important duty to perform.
See, this was so much more than a simple goodbye party. This gathering had a deeply sacred purpose. It was about formally passing the torch, a transfer of the patriarchal authority, that spiritual leadership passed down from father to son. It was Adam's moment to give a final blessing to the generations that followed him. And look at this list of attendees. It was a real who's who of the ancient world. All the direct heirs to the priesthood, which is the authority to act in God's name, they were all there. And the person tasked with writing all this down, the official clerk for this historic event, was none other than the prophet Enoch.
Now, what happened next is what took this from a family gathering to a truly divine event. This was the absolute climax of Adam's incredibly long and, let's face it, extraordinary life.
Out of nowhere, the Lord Jehovah himself appears right there in the middle of them to honor Adam. The entire crowd stands up, they bless Adam, calling him Michael, the archangel, and then Jehovah delivers this powerful blessing, basically confirming Adam's role as a prince over his family forever. Just wow. And this is the peak of the whole thing. Adam, this guy who's almost 1,000 years old and bowed down with age, he stands up filled with this divine energy and gives this sweeping prophecy, laying out the entire future for his descendants all the way to the very last generation.
But after this incredible, glorious event, that unavoidable decree from the Garden of Eden still had to be fulfilled, right? Mortality has a price, and even the very first man had to pay it.
And you can see it on the timeline here. Just 3 years after that great conference, Adam's time on earth came to an end. He died at 930 years old, fulfilling that divine law that his mortal life wouldn't go past 1,000 years.
And here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. As all of Adam's descendants are thinking about death, this universal experience for everyone, they had no idea that God had a totally different plan for one of them, their clerk, Enoch. So this brings us right back to our original question. The mystery of Enoch isn't just about what happened to him as an individual. The solution is way bigger. It's about what happened to his entire community.
Then, in the year 2948 BC, something absolutely unprecedented happens. Enoch and the whole population of his city, Zion, they go through this process called translation. It's described as a kind of physical metamorphosis, where their bodies are fundamentally changed, and the very seeds of death are neutralized.
And get this, the source material describes their new state of being as just incredible. They didn't need to eat or sleep in the same way. They were immune to mortal harm. Prisons couldn't hold them, fire couldn't burn them, and wild animals were like puppies to them. And maybe the most mind-bending part? The change extended to their houses, their land, all their possessions. The whole shebang was translated right along with them.
Now, it's really important to get this straight. Translation is not the same thing as resurrection. Joseph Smith explained that translated beings are in a kind of intermediate state. Think of them as being on an ongoing mission, serving as ministering angels, before they get to their final eternal glory.
So you're probably wondering, what in the world happened to this whole city of transformed people? Well, the records say they were literally separated from the earth and taken up to God.
But they weren't just taken away. They were taken away for a purpose. The people of Enoch are on a mission, being held in reserve, kind of waiting in the wings for a specific, prophesied time in the future.
And this is where it all comes full circle.
Their ancient story connects directly to a future event. It's prophesied that at the start of the millennium, this entire city will actually return to Earth and join up with another holy city, the New Jerusalem, the very beginning of human history, connecting with its millennial end.
And that will be the final step in their journey. When they return, they'll have one last change. In the twinkling of an eye, it says, going from their translated state to full immortality, becoming just like resurrected beings in God's kingdom.
So now it all makes sense. After this incredible event, the story that spread everywhere was, Zion is fled. And that little mysterious Bible verse, Enoch was not, for God took him, well, that was just the tiny shorthand version of this unbelievable story of an entire city being taken up into the heavens.
And that's our explainer on Adam's final days in the translation of Zion. It leaves us with a pretty powerful question to chew on, right? If an entire community could achieve something this remarkable together, what does that suggest about the ultimate potential of humanity? What could we all achieve if we were truly united?